guys, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be a brief, hopefully, review of Pacific Rim, the official movie novelization, and Godzilla Half-Century War. If you're wondering where Godzilla Half-Century War came from, because it was not on my TBR for this year, Amazon finally caught on to what I like and suggested it to me, and I just couldn't stop myself. I was like, I want to know, is there any good like Godzilla comics? And this one was fine, but let's talk about that in a minute. Let's talk about Pacific Rim, the official movie novelization. So Pacific Rim was a movie that came out, I believe, in 2013, and I saw it when it came out and loved it, thought it was great. It's definitely heavy on monster mech fights, which I love, all about it. The characters, some are really good. I will say the thing that I think the movie does really good is it balances out the weaker characters with very strong actors. Idris Elba is great in it, and he's very believable as the character. So the weaker actors kind of get held up by these more veteran actors. I can't think of his name, but the same guy who plays Hellboy is in it, and he's also great. I'll put it there. I'm very bad with names. Okay, so should you read the movie novelization? Is it worth it? I think so. It adds a bunch of information that you don't get in the movie. It also has more dialogue that you don't get in the movie. I will say the movie is not dialogue heavy, which is perfect for the kind of movie it is. But it also, I think that the movie, one of the main characters is much weaker in the movie than she is in the book. So, this is what happens in Pacific Rim, okay? There's these kaiju, these monsters, that basically come up through this crack between two tectonic plates called the breach, and they come and start attacking. I love using my props. And the kaiju are fought then. Humanity uses Jaegers, which are their mechs, and fight against the kaiju. Now, this works for a while, but not for very long, because the kaiju keep learning and adapting and getting stronger and bigger, and then the mechs aren't able to keep up with that. So the last big plan, the last chance for humanity is to take the Jaegers, the few remaining, and try and get a bomb through the breach to explode it and collapse it, and therefore no more monsters coming through. So that's Pacific Rim in a nutshell. The main character being Raleigh, who is fine. He's fine. I don't dislike Raleigh. He's just he's kind of just the main character that you follow along, and he's he's sad because his brother died in one of their fights. They're connected in the mechs through neural links, their brains are connected so they can work the mechs together. And I will say that the thing that neither the books nor the movies explain really well is why certain people can, their brains can link up well, and that they can drift together. That's what they call it. So I think that was a weak point, because it makes sense that he would be able to drift with his brother, because, a sibling would have a close connection. The other teams are triplets. There's another team that's a husband and wife team, and another team that's a father and son team. So that makes sense, but then later his main partner will be Mako, who has no connection to him whatsoever. And it's implied that they kind of have a little bit of a romantic something. It's more a little bit more in the book than the movie. I don't like the romance aspect. I think they should have just been good friends, because they had no chemistry. They had no chemistry in the movie either. Nobody's fault, but Mako is better in the book than she is in the movie. I don't know that actress should have been cast as Mako. Nothing against her. She's very flat. Mako has much more personality. She's a lot more outspoken in the book than she is in the movie. Also, the book adds a lot of context that you don't get about the different people. The scientists are one is especially more comic relief in the movie than in the book. So I think it's worth it. You definitely get a sense of what's, at stake. You get to know the characters more. There's more interaction between characters, more dialogue. But I would say if you haven't read it and you really like Pacific Rim, it's worth it. I really like how every chapter ends with kind of a personnel file or a news clipping or something that kind of tells you just a little bit more. So I'm all about the more information. I tell me about the mechs, tell me about the people, tell me about what's really going on. So I think that the movie, the novelization does a really good job of elaborating on what you already would know from the movie. And it's not boring. So I would say if you like Mechs monsters, try Pacific Rim, the official movie novelization, and it is pretty decent for what it is. I'm not like huge on novelizations, but I did read recently Godzilla, King of the Monsters, and it was also fine. So I'm kind of giving them more of a chance. Now let's talk about Godzilla Half Century War. So this popped up in my like suggested for you, and I'm like, how do you know? Amazon. Well, I know how they know, but this one, it's fine. Here's what I like about it. This is set in 1954 Japan. We follow a Japanese soldier with the first encounter of Godzilla happening then, and he witnesses it, and it's like, oh my gosh, Godzilla is a thing. And then he is tasked with joining a group of monster hunters, basically. And they're going to try and stop Godzilla. And it's pretty bleak, I'm not going to lie. This is his life, like every 10 years, basically, we check in with him, and he's in a different place. And Godzilla is, destroying things. And then you do kind of get this seems to be a thing in Godzilla, that somebody decides the best thing to do is like try and build something that attracts Godzilla. So you get more monsters joining because they also hear this like, hey, here's our monster call. And so you do get more monsters showing up in this comic, which is cool. The art style to me did not fit the timeline of things. Like, to me, it was very modern looking. I think it would have been cool if you would have seen a bit of a change from like the 1954 to 20 to 30 years later. The characters are drawn. I don't love that. I don't love the way they were drawn. It's very bright. It's very like in your face, which works great for monsters and not as good for like the actual people in the story. I am not a cartoon artist. It's like, this is not a critique of like this artist at all. He's doing a great job. Like, all of the monster stuff in this is beautiful. Like, Godzilla looks great. All of the different like Mothra, all that. It's like, they look really great. But like I said, you're going through a half century. So you would think that they would be some stylistic things that would change a little bit. Like, the characters would look a little bit different, but not really. So yeah, I like it. It was interesting. Like I said, the monsters are drawn really well. It's definitely worth checking out if you like Godzilla, like those monsters, because I thought that those were like epic. And the fights are good. So that was Godzilla Half Century War. Like I said, it is pretty bleak. It definitely doesn't end on and we all live happily ever after. That's just a little spoiler for you. It's like, I feel like that was one thing that was nice about those. It's like, what would really happen with monsters just showing up, like, it's probably not going to go the way that we want. And just as it goes on, how like fighting the monsters becomes just trying to contain them. And then after that, it just becomes just surviving, it seemed very realistic. So that was a good one. Not my favorite Godzilla, but definitely worth checking out if you like Godzilla. And I do really, really enjoy, like I said, the monsters were drawn. They look great. So Godzilla Half Century War. So that's what I've been reading recently. I have a few books that I'm finishing up, like my poetry, and then another one, I can't remember the name. Just a short story. So I'm working on that. Definitely working on my list. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten. I know I got a little distracted with comics, but to be fair, it was Godzilla. So let me know what you're reading down in the comments, how your month is going. If you're stuck in this polar vortex like I am, because it's freezing and miserable, I sympathize. But yeah, if you have any suggestions for more mech monster books, I like those a lot. And they do kind of derail me from my reading list, but I do enjoy them. So let me know in the comments, and I will talk to you guys again soon.